Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley, and this is another historic church in Shropshire. This is All Saints Norbury. Now, there's been a few Norburys, at least two Norburys on this channel before, but of course Norbury is quite a common name because Nor from north and Bury from Bur, fortified town. So it's the North fortified town. The church here has Norman origins, although the only major Norman element is the West Tower. The rest seems to have been largely rebuilt in 1520, and then there was a major restoration in the 1880s, which resulted in the building as we see it today, complete with the screen, with at least most of the windows are from that period. The roof, with the painted ceiling, is also from that period, although medieval roof timbers were reused. So we'll have a look around and again see what we can see. As usual then, we start at the west end looking east. The screen, as I said, is a Victorian addition, and above us we have the famous painted ceiling. It's again, it is Victorian, although above some of the roof timbers, which cannot be seen, of course, because they are covered by the ceiling, are medieval. The font is 14th century and is frankly enormous. The bowl is lead-lined. As we move forward, we come here to some of the memorials. Here we have memorial to two men who were killed in the First World War. Edward Harold Pinches and Charles Richard Jones. You will notice also Pinches is an English name, Jones is a Welsh name. We're on the Welsh border, therefore we have names that are both Welsh and English. There is here a pulpit. This is, of course, considerably larger than a Rattling Hope. It's lower down, and it is a wealthier parish. There's the pulpit. We have here a memorial to John Barrett, and we have Christ the Good Shepherd with, I presume, St. John the Evangelist, given he's a young man who has a book. The chancel, the east window, which we can't see yet, is the other major piece of stained glass here. We have here, let's try and get you all in the organ. So there's the pipes up there and the console down here. We move further forward and we find here the reredos, mosaic reredos, Mothers Union banner. There's a little side window here of Christ with the cup, and then we have the east window. Suffer little children to come unto me and forbid them not. And centre light, we have Christ holding a small child with other small children around him, and then in the side lights we have the parents bringing their children to Christ. It's interesting the subjects that are chosen for these east windows, because quite often it's the crucifixion, but sometimes you will find something like this that is perhaps a bit more ambiguous in terms of the churchmanship, shall we say. And often, of course, they're paid for by somebody who determines what it's supposed to be. This is a memorial to James Glendower Hughes, who was 44 years curate and vicar of this parish, went into life eternal November the 20th, 1928. Now this, of course, is notable that he's first the curate and then he becomes the vicar. Not uncommon here. Also notable, of course, James Glendower Hughes, that is a Welsh name. And so we look here through the screen, and if we look up here, there's the ceiling. You can see there is a little hatch which leads into the roof space. Just because, well, no, because access, of course, for maintenance and other things will be necessary. The altar, as you can see the legs of the communion table here, and quite common in the late 19th, early 20th centuries to have these wrought iron posts, balusters for your communion rail. And there we have the pulpit, which is attached, in fact, part of the screen, and on the other side we have the lectern. So proceed to the point where we can look west. Directly west, there we go. Another historic church, much restored in the 19th century, but it retains this very fine appearance. So we'll have a look outside next. Actually, before we go outside, just another look at the font, because this is where you have this carved roundel here. There we go, carved roundel. And here, a great chunk has been taken out of it. This is where most likely the hinge, or part of the locking mechanism of the medieval font cover has been rather violently removed, damaging the font. As I said at Rattling Hope, and I said it a number of places, medieval fonts are often damaged like this, not because of any iconoclasm, but because an iron staple or iron hinge has been removed at some point. Sometimes because it's got rusty and was damaging the font already, sometimes for other reasons, and certainly because the medieval locking font lids were often identified with idolatrous and superstitious ideas. So that's the font, and now we will, in fact, go outside. And so we're now outside here at Norbury, and you can see here, this is the oldest part of the building. Yes, it's a local dock, but this is the oldest part of the building. This is the 12th century tower. Its present spire is a Victorian addition, and we'll see that as we go round. So let's have a look around, not least to avoid disturbing the dog any further. And so there we go, this is the 12th century tower. You will notice as we scan down that it tapers somewhat from base to top. This means it doesn't need buttresses, and it helps to make it a bit of a more stable structure. And then atop it we have the Victorian spire. The wooden porch, of course, is Victorian, although there would have been a previous wooden porch here. The fact that it was restored in the Victorian era means that they've chosen, and it's a relatively cheap style, what's called the early English, the 13th century early pointed. Relatively cheap because you're not manufacturing delicate tracery. You can have just a carved window head like that. But the previous windows would have been squarer. They're rather like, in fact, that door which predates the Victorians, because the Victorians would not build a door like that. And we have here these double Lancet basically type windows. As we move around, we find ourselves at the east end here, and again that triple Lancet window. The arrangement is very, very typical of the 13th century, although of course this is Victorian, and the fabric of the church is largely rebuilt in the 16th century. It's a shame, therefore, the 16th century work wasn't kept, but one suspects it wasn't kept up very well at one point. And you can see here we've got this dormer type window. There's a better look at the spire there. Just the old barn over there. So that basically is Norbury. Very pleasant. It's not all that far off from Bishop's Castle, which is the market town for this area. You can see there, so that is Norbury here in Shropshire, not to be confused of course with the Norbury in Derbyshire or that in Staffordshire. So we carry on, just to get a look at the tower here. There we go. And there we are, Norbury. So there we are, Norbury, Shropshire. Well, thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.